There is this anonymous author who went by the pseudonym of Michael Smith. He wrote a treatise called The Truth Contest, which is available for free on thetruthcontest.com. The website was down for a few years, but after the author allegedly passed on, somebody took over and republished the work. And in this book, I was made aware of the existence of hell on Earth, the real hell. It's at the bottom of the ocean. And at the bottom of the ocean, and Bill Nye and scientists, they've confirmed this. There are sulfuric release valves. They have a name for them, but it's sulfur. And everywhere are a bunch of bloodworms. They're worms, parasites. They're called bloodworms. They're red, like the devil, and living inside all those bloodworms, like literally if you land on them, they will shoot blood out. And they smell like sulfur, they're toxic. But all inside them are bacteria. And bacteria are the most populous species on the entire planet, as we know, and they're everywhere, but especially at the bottom of the ocean, where it's extreme temperatures in both directions, extremely hot and extremely cold. So that was the basis, that was the inspiration for the literal interpretations of hell in Dante's Inferno, in the Quran, etc., etc. And so that's one of the explanations. That's one of the scientific explanations. And it makes perfect sense. And I've been thinking about what else in my life makes perfect sense now. Life begins right now. It doesn't begin then. It never began when you were a fetus or a zygote. You could go even before that. It doesn't end when you die. It might end for you, for me, Jake Jones. It might end for Sally Watkins or whatever. But it keeps going, right? It keeps going. Whether that force is personal or not is the subject of much debate. What I do know is it starts now. So I achieved my dream. I did. Full throttle. No prisoners taken. I wanted to be a famous stand-up comedian. And so that's what I became. And I knew that years before it actually happened. Years before the shit popped off. I knew that was going to happen. I knew, if nothing else, bro, that was going to happen. I was going to go the distance, as they said in the movie Rocky. So I did. And am I happier as a result? Fuck no. I'm grateful. I'm humbled. Even humiliated at times, but I wouldn't say I'm happy. Because there's a balancing counter reaction to everything that happens in this life. If you're super rich and successful and handsome and sexy and the fountain of youth and have great health and great finances and all these items, some people are they're N-word rich. They're like they have all the trappings of wealth, but they don't control any of it. They've got somebody to report to. They've got a, for the metaphor's sake, they got a Jew banker that they report back to. And you could completely reverse the roles, whatever. So, there's all sorts of shit like that, man. And that's why the appearances don't mean shit. Like, there's people in India who don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, but they're like always smiling. They're always happy. And these people live in what we call the third world. And I look at the shit that's going on in America, man. Fucking meth heads and crazies running around everywhere. They're hopped up on drugs. They're trying to get off of drugs. They're, you know, they were, you know, they were shamed by their religious families. They were basically made homeless, you know, nowhere to go, nowhere to stay. And even the places that there are to stay, they're chaotic because they're bringing in that trouble with them. Is that first fucking world? People don't have healthcare or proper education or nutrition. Is that first fucking world? The food is poison. Is that first fucking world? Really? So we've got a long way to go, as I see it. But not in a utopic sense. Not in a sense that there's something that can be fixed or altered in the future. That's a misnomer. That's a miscreation. That's of the mind. But all we have is now. So the future is now and the past is also now. So pick your poison. Pick your poison. Are you going to be an imaginative motherfucker, or are you going to be an observational motherfucker? Are you going to see the world and life as it is, materially, and measure your worth by that? Or are you going to measure your worth by how much you enjoy your thoughts? How many thoughts you can cram into your skull in this finite existence? Are you going to judge other people based on where they appear to be in your life, or how they treat you, or what they say to you, what they reflect back to you? Are you going to misplace guilt on yourself in the hopes that it will lead you to a change of heart? Or are you going to do the reverse? Are you just going to see people as pieces on a chessboard your entire life? Are you going to be a sociopath in the hopes that you can accomplish great things? And maybe you will. Maybe you will. But does that mean anything? Does that really mean anything in the long run? If people don't know how to handle their own business, if people don't know how to discipline their own minds, and understand that emotions are just spirits, they're attachments. We're emotionally attached to things, not because we're attached to the things, but because we're attached to the way that they make us feel. Whether it's the pump at the gym, whether it's getting in great shape and saying, I got a great chiseled physique, I got a fucking 12-pack abs instead of a 12-pack of beer to make me happy. And, you know, or hey, I'm making improvements because I had that. I got an espresso machine. Or hey, you know, I'm letting, and people just, they let shit slide. You know, they'll have one annoying thing going on, and you know, and I've done this too, where it was just one tiny ass thing that needed to be moved. You know, like a piece of paper needed to be thrown away, or like, I need to pick up dental floss off of the carpet or something. I'd spend an hour searching and getting it all clean, and then by the time I did that, my mind was clean again. That's psychology. That's a psychological explanation for what we go through in the physical realm. There are spiritual, esoteric explanations as well. There are historical explanations as to say, well, this happened in the past. That was in the past. That was in a different time. The wise men didn't mean that. They didn't mean to say it in that way because we're so evolved and advanced now. Careful. Careful. There's a balancing effect to every fucking thing in this world. If you're butt ugly, fat, have no discipline in this life, you reap what you sow in this life. That is true. And it might be true if reincarnation exists. That might also be true. But what could also be the case is that the person who's experienced lack and misfortune and takes all the blows and it takes everybody's shit, he gets everybody's coffee, and they just spit at him for his entire fucking life. And at the end of 40 years of service, being stuck in the same spot pushing carts, all he gets is a silver fucking watch. That's all he gets. I've seen that happen in real life. Okay? Because the guy wasn't too bright, but he just had a heart of fucking gold. And everybody told him he had a heart of fucking gold, but deep down they didn't care. They didn't give a fuck about him. They were never going to pay him any more than somebody who was out grinding, who actually, and has a positive attitude, who recites all the right positive platitudes, so that the world will applaud him. There's people in this world, and you might be one of them, that no matter how hard you try, no matter how hopeful you are, you're just going to get treated like dirt and mocked and scorned and practically strung up on a metaphorical cross yourself, or a literal cross. It happens. There's people, historically, who have suffered way worse hardship than Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ was only on that cross for like 6 hours. That's not even a full fucking school day, 6 hours. That's shorter than a fucking American child's school day, okay? So it's not that much time. It may have felt like it, but it wasn't. And that's the trippy part about punishment. You'll invent new ways to prolongate what the time appears to be. And then at the end, the final twist of the knife will be, oh, it was only 6 hours. That'll be the future of prison sentences and incarceration if we let that continue. They'll literally freeze your mind in a cryo chamber or whatever technology that they've been putting in the movies for years, but we just said, hey, that was just a fantasy, right? And then the bloodthirst, getting us angry at Epstein people or rich people or whoever, white people, black people, it doesn't matter the group, but there's gonna be times where that bloodthirst for justice combined with the laziness of the impoverished masses, I mean impoverished mentally, not physically, all that is going to come to a head. That's going to reveal itself as well as the Garden of Eden, as well as the good trappings of a successful life, as well as the glitter and glamour and glitz and gold, as well as the comedy hour Jake Jones, as well as, going to Mars or whatever the fuck these billionaire lowlifes want to do next. It doesn't fucking matter, bro. The chip's already been implanted in your skull long before you were born. It's called the collective unconscious. Okay? Blavatsky, the author of Theosophy, she called it something else, like the Archaic Files or some shit like that. Okay? It's the same fucking idea. It's the collective unconscious subconscious mind. And it'll impress whatever you, the individual, impress upon it. And it'll impress whatever your neighbor impresses upon it. So that is the impossible task, humanly, that we have on this planet. The impossible task and the reason to hustle, the reason to imagine, the reason to grind, the reason to not just sit back and let that coffee maker crank itself until all it spits out is grinds. Because it's that one detail, it's that one slip that's going to have a chain reaction somewhere down the line within a system of people completely dependent on it, whether it's the internet going out, whether it's, it's a single website going down, whether it's the power outages that they have in third world countries all the time. They're just used to it over there. Oh yeah. There's no amount of money that you can pay to fix some of these electrical systems in impoverished, so-called poor countries, because it's just, they don't give a fuck. They don't value that shit as much as they do community. You can't just show up to an Amish village one day and, stick a gun in everyone's face and be like, okay, you're all getting cell phones and you have to use them all the time. It's not gonna work, bro. You might have to whack some of them. People resistant to change. You can call them Luddites, you can call them fucking whatever, you can call them retards, village people, whatever. Dude, there's some people that are holdouts. They're the exceptions. They're exceptions for a reason. They will not go with the current script. They're going to write their own. They're going to take whatever their ancestors did and just hold to that for as long as they can. It's the cockroach effect. You try killing cockroaches, bro, they've got the wisdom to survive. They fuck 2,000 times a day, bro. They squirt milk in each other's buttholes all fucking day. They are ruthless. They're animals. And so are some of us, man. Some of us are just gonna... They're just gonna, you can't outthink them because they're not even thinking. They just act. And that'll get shit done. It may not improve anything, but it'll get shit done. So to close, what Mike Smith says in the Truth Contest is that if we don't recognize where we're at right now in the present fucking moment, devoid of forgetting, just letting go of the desires, of the stupid animal desires that we have for a minute, to be recognized as something, to be loved in the bullshit way that we think love is. Love is everywhere. Love is everything. But we think it has to go a certain way. And that is hell, my friends. That is the one-way ticket to hell. Where most of us statistically are going. Where I'm probably going. That's why I say that. It's not to earn anything. It's not because all this bullshit like grace and forgiveness and yada yada doesn't work. It's not about that. It's about statistics. It's about just the way things are. It's about observing just the way things are. And not how I fucking want them to be. Because how you or I want things to be at the end of the day is so irrelevant, because even if and when we get what we want in this life or any other life or any other incarnation, there's gonna be another carrot and another stick. It just keeps repeating itself and balancing itself out. The balancing act of evolutionary physics, biology, whatever you want to fucking call it. That's just one way to look at it. And I'm not a scientist yet, but I have all the curiosity and talent within me to be anything I want, to call myself anything I want. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. That's the mindset of freedom and truth and power and love that a real G has within him. That's why I don't like blowing smoke up people's asses, but given the choice between that and like telling them they can't, I'll take the first option every fucking time. So let yourself be judged. Endure it. Whatever it is, the disease, the heartbreak, the heartache, you could drop dead at any moment. Any fucking moment statistically. But statistics can also be challenged. And again, they don't mean anything. Maybe you were born to be the exception. Maybe. Probably not, but maybe. And it's that maybe, that feeling of certainty, that feeling of inner peace, that is the driving force behind everything that everybody I'm speaking to on this channel is about. I'm calling it. I'm labeling it. I'm cementing it in stone. That is the tablet that I'm writing my commandment on. This is Jake Jones Comedy. Stay winning, or stay